stuff. We don't say anything funny. We get a picture of even a full body apparition. We're just going to post it on our website. We're going to leave that up to you guys to make your own decisions whether or not it's actually paranormal or not. This is Andrea Badke. She will be our tour guide tonight. At each stop, we'll also be telling a little bit of the life story about the people that's buried here, some of the local haunted places in the area. I'll also be showing you some of the equipment that we actually use while we're out ghost hunting and let you know how we use it, explain the stuff like that. We'll also explain some of the haunted places that we've been to, some of the stories that we have.
Okay, one thing we ask you to do is you are in a place of respect and do not vandalize anything in here. Don't touch anything that you shouldn't touch. We ask that you respect who's buried here because these people were living at one time, and we just ask that you have a lot of respect for the dead.
The first one's the Olivers, correct? Yeah, we can do that first grade. All over there. Okay. I know where the Olivers is.
Totally get paid for that bitch. You know the Q&A's already done?
For you.
Give me the light.
Flashlight don't work.
Give me the light, give me the light, give me the light.
Well, you know, I actually jumped on a tombstone one year.
If you can't hear me, let me know. Everybody hear me okay?
No.
Okay, come on in closer. Okay. Death is a final mystery of life, and since early civilization, we feared it and we worshipped it. That people, when they died in early times, were buried in their yards or on farms, and eventually these areas became bigger. They were people that died, they were immortalized with stones and markers that marked their names or something about their life. And eventually, as more people died, more markers appeared, and this was the beginning of cemeteries or repositories of the dead. Eventually, people became buried in churchyards, and people with a lot of money were buried inside churches themselves, and the people with less money were buried in the churchyard. And as space got smaller and more people were dying because the population was going up, towns established cemeteries in the center of towns. And as urban growth progressed, cemeteries got moved more to the outskirts of town. In a lot of places you'll find that cemeteries have actually been moved to make room for urban growth, and people have been moved, the dead have been moved to different cemeteries. So what we do in cemeteries is we immortalize the dead with markers, which you'll see here. Tonight we're going to explain to you the meaning of some of the markings on the markers, because cemetery markers are actually a form of early American art, and a lot of the inscriptions on the markers mean something about the people, and the symbols on the markers mean something about the people that are buried there. Graves have always been marked just not only to immortalize or to help remember the people that are buried underneath the stones, but also to remind us, the living, that someday we're going to be moldering in the ground as well.
Sorry.
Okay.
The Olivers.
This is the Olivers. This was George Oliver. He was born in Scotland in 1770. He was a very poor shepherd, and actually when he got married to his wife Elizabeth, she was a little bit more upper class than he was, and because she married beneath herself, her family pretty much shunned him for many years. When he was 65, he had a 12-year-old son by the name of James. They moved to America when George was 65, and they lived in New York for many years. In the early 1800s, James came to Mishawaka, which at that time was known as the St. Joseph Iron Works. And in that area, there was a lot of iron ore in the ground that they could use for metal castings. When he moved here, his father moved to Mishawaka, The neat thing about George, the father, he came from very humble beginnings. He was a very poor shepherd. His son, James, became one of the most famous industrialists in this country when he formed the Oliver Plow Works. And his son, Joseph, was kind of the financial brains behind the organization, while James was the inventor. He's a very innovative inventor. James is buried at, I believe it's Riverview Cemetery in South Bend, and he has a very large mausoleum. James, his son, you will meet further on some of the Doties who are buried here, and Susan Doty, who was a daughter of the Doties that are buried on that side of the cemetery, married James and produced some children for him. Actually, that was the mother of Joseph, James's son. So this is George Oliver.
Okay.
When was he born?
1770.
Okay, at each grave stop, what we're going to be doing is also showing you pieces of equipment that we use when we ghost hunt. One of the first pieces of equipment I want to point out, that's what all the ghost trackers use. We have cameras. We have both digital cameras and 35mm cameras. The great thing about digital cameras is that you got instant pictures. You can see them right there. You know if you're getting activity. The bad thing is that you have no negative, you have no proof. These are easily manipulated online. You can basically add a ghost anytime you want to with them. So what we'll do is we'll start out with a digital camera and take a bunch of pictures, and if all of a sudden, if we start getting activity, getting orbs, getting ectoplasm, stuff like that, then we'll switch over to 35mm. The first time that I was out on a ghost hunt and I only had a 35mm with me, I went through over $100 in film just getting them developed, so it's very expensive. That's when we switched over to digital. So both of them's excellent. We do seem to get a lot more orbs with digital cameras. We don't know why. A lot of people believe that the camera will actually capture stuff that the human eye can't see. It's just so quick. So it's a good thing to have on any of your tours. Okay. Next up. This is sitting up. And then we've got
Just reading online about they're discussing the difference between the digital and 45mm. Digital cameras now.
Watch my little friend.
yeah. Because I got that on mine.
What?
I used to try to keep mine turned off.
What?
You're about to meet one of the more interesting residents of City Cemetery, Mr. Willard Aldrich.
Thank you. What makes my grave unique is the size. This is my grave. I was born in 1840, died in 1842. Lived over here in Mishawaka on Main Street near Lawrence Street. There was a little knoll. Everybody thought the house was a witch's house because it was all covered in vines and all of the beautiful things. I developed tuberculosis in my later years. I was a horse trader. I'd disappear for 3 or 4 months at a time. Come back with a beautiful carriage and horses. Sell them to the people. But because of my tuberculosis, I could never lay down. So I had a special casket made by the undertaker here in town. It's 5 foot by 7 foot. I could sit up in it. It had a chair. It has a card table. It has a horse's saddle because I love my horses. It has a bottle of whiskey because I enjoy it for taking. It has a pipe and tobacco. And then there was this one little thing extra that I had to put in with me. That was my shotgun in case the devil comes calling. This is, in reality, when the funeral took place, the coffin was so large that they couldn't put it into the hearse. So the poor pallbearers had to carry it from city center to the city center grave, or this grave spot. And it wasn't light. 5 foot by 7 foot. by about 6 foot tall. And for those of you who have flashlight, you kind of look down in there, you might see a glimpse of the car. Do you have any questions? Don't bother my little friend there. It's on the side. He's walking around. It's a slug.